RWA.xyz just pushed a big update, and this update includes both distributed asset value and isolated asset value when it comes back to RWA value on chain. And here is where we start to see a much bigger picture. There is almost $18 billion in terms of distributed asset value, which, for anyone that wants to know what this means, this is basically the total value of RWA tokens using the blockchain as a distribution layer, enabling on-chain investors to subscribe, hold, and manage assets directly through their own wallets or custodians. In terms of isolated asset value, it is over almost $414 billion, almost $500 billion on chain. Again, what does this mean? This is the total value of RWA tokens using the blockchain as a record-keeping layer, enhancing transparency, reconciliation, and operational efficiency without enabling on-chain investor transfer or distribution. Which, again, if we're thinking about what's happening here, I didn't even know this, but there is now nearly $500 billion on-chain. This is a wild thing to put into perspective and see right in front of us, because again, we're still at the starting point of this. This is a big update. Looking at the overall market view here, we still have about almost $36 billion tied back to the total RWAs on chain. This does include major networks and issuers and platforms. One of the largest ones here obviously being Canton, and if we're looking at the networks again, you know, they're down here in terms of that isolated asset value. But again, looking into XRP, we do have the distributed asset value and then also the isolated asset value. It's 100 and almost 32 million here, up about 6% in the last 30 days. And then also 250 million in terms of isolated asset value, up about almost 3% in the last 30 days. What I'm looking at here, though, is the RWA count, which is now nearing 50 RWAs on the XRP ledger. Take a quick look at all of the RWAs here. It's insane to see this. Even though a lot of this is coming from Mercado Bitcoin, which doesn't have any value tied to it, most likely because the tracking is not up to date, it's insane to see how many RWAs are now hitting some of these networks. But again, when it comes back to XRP, when it comes back to tokenization itself, we are still at the early phase of this. We're still talking about millions and billions. We're not talking about trillions or even potentially quadrillions of dollars, which, yes, is 100% a possibility in the coming years. I bring all of this up because of what we've been hearing from BlackRock and also even Citi. Let's first start off with an update from Ripple Swell going back to November 5th, which was live from Ripple Swell, SVP of Engineering at Ripple. The XRP ledger was purpose-built for real-world utility for money markets. Tokenizations, our vision is to preserve its strength and make it better for institutional adoption. Over the last couple of days, it has come to my attention that we are now witnessing more and more users having money frozen on exchanges like MEXC. This is a big issue, and it's an issue that plagues the crypto space. It's at a time where these exchanges are not fully regulated. It's a big issue. This is why when I've always mentioned if you wanted to hold your crypto in custody, it could be cold storage. It doesn't matter where you are holding it. Never hold it on these exchanges. Now, I will say ITrustCapital does offer a premium custody account, which provides you institutional grade custody. This is a US-based company with live client service and support. And you can buy and sell crypto 24/7 on this platform, which is a closed loop system that is extremely secure with low fees. We could also see here that ITrustCapital does provide you with every single thing that you possibly need when you are buying, selling, or holding crypto on their platform. If you guys do want to sign up with a premium custody account today, you guys are more so welcome to do so through my link that is down in the description below. If you deposit $1,000, you get a $100 funding bonus on top of it. And with that being said, let's jump back on into the video. I want to bring this quote back up because the main focus right now and the next big wave around crypto is going to be institutional grade adoption. This is the next big thing. This is where the next large amounts of money is going to flow into the space from. And yes, Ripple is 100% committed to bringing institutional grade adoption onto the XRP ledger through institutional DeFi, tokenization, stablecoin, initiatives, and I'm very excited about this. It's also at the same exact time that if we go back to the end of September, there was a big update with Securitize, which by the way is backed by BlackRock. For anyone that didn't know, Securitize is 100% backed by BlackRock and Morgan Stanley. The first integration of Ripple's ROUSD into our regulated tokenization stack opens new liquidity pathways for the largest yield-bearing assets on-chain. This is through the BUIDL fund with BlackRock and also VanEck's V-Bill powered by Securitize. They are the first to benefit with new assets and use cases planned for the XRP ledger. And this is where I really focus on the big picture here, which is use cases. New use cases, because this is institutional DeFi becoming a reality. Securitize is also a massive player here. If we're going back to the market overview, okay, they are listed under platforms. We know that Securitize is the third largest platform here with over $4+ billion tied back to them. And they are a large player in this space. And they did pick Ripple with, of course, the XRP ledger and ROUSD to start targeting some of these big institutional grade funds. Now, we also did hear from Securitize at RippleSwell, specifically Carlos Domingo. We work closely with Ripple to make sure that any tokenized asset we have integrates well with ROUSD for on-chain liquidity, purchasing the asset and more. That's potentially the largest use case out there. Now, we also heard from Carlos recently, and this is from Yahoo Finance Market Catalyst. We have why tokenization, and he broke it down completely. Check this out.
Carlos Domingo, Securitize founder and CEO, is joining me here in the studio. Carlos, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we've talked for a while. So congrats, first of all, on this deal to go public. And Securitize and tokenization has really become a buzzword since we started talking, I think, a couple of years ago. It's really gained a lot of speed. Yeah, exactly. So I want to talk a little bit about the sort of concept of tokenization first and the value that it brings. We are seeing more of an interest in tokenizing a broader swath of assets, right? And I think most interestingly or most recently, stocks being tokenized is something that has come into the conversation. Why would I want to, and how does it work? Why would I want to tokenize a stock?
So look, just to explain what tokenization is in layman terms.
Yes.
Every transaction in capital markets, whether it's a stock, a bond, a fund, a redemption, an interest paid, whatever, dividend, involves updating a ledger, right? So somebody has to have a record of who owns what and how that transaction affects the ownership change and also, the money that you've, used to pay for the transaction. So tokenization is nothing else but taking these securities and that are in antiquated ledger technologies, silo, not connected to each other, and put them on a modern, public distributed ledger technology like a blockchain is to provide all these efficiencies. So why people want this? Well, it's going to democratize access to a lot of assets. It's going to make the assets easier to move around. It's going to make them easier to borrow against them. It's going to make it easier to receive dividends on time, etc. So ultimately, this becomes like a better way of holding and trading the assets.
I guess what I'm confused about is why create a token twin of the asset rather than just securitizing the asset itself?
That's a very good question. So what we do is we actually work with the issuers. So when we issue a token, the token actually represents the security. There is no other copy of that security anywhere else. It's not a twin. It's the actual native representation. It's represented on a different ledger, a blockchain, with the entry on that ledger is called a token. So this is not a twin. This is a native representation.
Well, but for example, if it's a stock, it's not the stock. You're not owning the stock itself.
You are.
You? Okay.
Yeah, of course. So actually, most people don't realize that when you, let's say, buy stocks on Robinhood, they're not under your name on the cap table. They're actually under the central securities depository the clearinghouse. DTC has a company called CD&Co that all the stocks are actually under their name. But you can actually request those stocks to be placed under your name through an entity called a transfer agent, which every publicly traded company has. And then when you do that, if the transfer agent uses a blockchain as their ledger, then that's tokenization, and you're going to get a token. So it's actually a better mechanism. You're actually really owning the stock. You really have rights. You can vote directly. You can receive the dividends immediately because they will know that you are a beneficial owner, etc., as opposed to holding the stocks in the traditional way.
So yeah, I mean, listen, when we think about why tokenization, I mean, our traditional system is completely broken. Tokenization is essentially the enabler of the new financial system. This is the internet of money, essentially. And Securitize has this new thing that they have been pushing, and you guys can even see it from this reply, Tokenize the World. They have been going on a big marketing push to really kind of push this, right? Tokenize the world. Here we have it again. Here we have another one, Tokenize the World. They want to ensure that we are pushing forward the, tokenization revolution and bringing not billions, but trillions of dollars on chain. And remember, this is backed by BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, and some of the largest institutional players out there. And they handpicked a few networks, one of them being, of course, the XRP ledger, for tokenization and institutional DeFi initiatives. Now, we also have over here from Bank XRP, former Ripple, now BlackRock's Robbie Mitchnick. Tokenization has broken the paradigm that forced you to choose between yield and liquidity. Tokenization isn't coming. It's happening now. Check it out.
It's all about taking the generalized value prop of tokenization, which has lots of exciting things, right? 24/7, real-time settlement, digitally native, global, interoperable, programmable, and saying, how do we deploy that in a given asset class in a way that creates material new value or utility for investors? And so in the case of BUIDL and in general, in the case of money market funds, tokenizing them has broken the paradigm that previously existed that forced you to choose between capturing full yield on your US dollar savings and having full liquidity. For the first time, you could hold US dollars in a tokenized money market fund. And then as soon as you needed liquidity to make a payment or settle a trade, et cetera, you could convert that to a stablecoin. And that, I think, is a really powerful value proposition. That's why this asset class, far and above any others to date, has seen real growth and adoption in tokenization. So now the question is, where do we go next? And a lot of it is going to stay in this category, right? Because there's lots more to do to be able to open up access and serve more and more clients and investors. But also it's about figuring out what are the second and third, next most viable asset classes where you can use tokenization to drive real utility, to expand access, to create an incrementally distinctive level of value for users of that. And that's the journey we're on now.
And yeah, I mean, listen, BlackRock has been on a full-on tokenization push for quite some time. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense on why BlackRock would be pushing this. Because again, they are one of the first ones to jump in on the tokenization, push. And now they are telling us, listen, tokenization is happening now. Like, this is where we are starting to see, these institutional players, these enterprise players as well. They are 100% committed to tokenization because they realize the opportunity that's here. They know that tapping into these new technologies is where the entire world is headed. With AI, with crypto, with all of this stuff, we are witnessing the evolution of our entire financial system. We are witnessing a new financial system become a reality. And they kept telling us, most people were completely, oblivious to this. They were not listening to it at all. But they kept telling us, listen, tokenization is the future. Tokenization is happening. We are witnessing the new, financial system. And even Securitize recently did post about tokenization being the single greatest opportunity in all of finance. Here we have estimated growth in tokenization through 2033, $18.9 trillion. Right now, currently in 2025, we're at about roughly 0.6, trillion, which, by the way, is 0.6 in billions of dollars, so roughly 600 billion. By 2026, we'll be at 1 trillion. By 2027, 1.6 trillion. By 2028, 2.7 trillion. And after that, we start to take major steps to the upside. 4.6, 9.4, 13.4, 16.5. And by the way, these numbers could severely change over time. But yeah, we have a massive opportunity in front of us. And almost every single big player realizes this as well, including, of course, BlackRock, Citi. Some of the biggest banks out there are now talking about tokenization. It's because this is just starting. It's just starting, and this is going to change how everything around us moves, operates, and how things are processed. Real estate moving on chain. We are going to see equities move on chain, institutional funds moving on chain. Everything from derivatives, you name it, it is going to live on chain. Just like Larry Fink said, every single asset is going on chain. And I don't think I need to tell you guys that, listen, we're not even at $1 trillion. We're not even at $500 billion yet. The upside here for tokenization is going to be enormous from this point on. We're just at the starting point. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, so notifications on because I'm more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.